There's no real morality today in any way, shape or form. And morality today is plastic. You're told what's supposed to be moral. You're supposed to believe that sometimes what you see is not what you're seeing. If you're a good person, you'll see what you're told to see, and things like that. That's social approval and social disapproval. I've given lots of talks about that over the years, and how they said they would bring in the big boys, the big organisers run by the foundations, the big private foundations that are all connected with each other. Multi-trillion-dollar companies, basically, that's what they are across the whole planet. Working together, running thousands of non-governmental organizations to influence and change and modify our behavior. And people still think they've got a mind of their own. They don't realize that most of the opinions in their heads were given to them very cleverly by experts. So cleverly that they were never analyzed by the people who now hold those convictions and opinions. They think they did, but they didn't. That's science, scientific techniques used upon them, quite something else. So there you have it. That's one little scandal there. There's another one too with a politician in Britain who committed suicide, as I say, because he had allegations of sexual misconduct at Parliament or wherever it was. It looks too that those who want to get Britain out of the whole idea of exiting Europe are hammering away the Conservatives at the moment for some reason. And you could hammer any party because they're always corrupt. Each one's as corrupt as the other. And they all cater to the same special interest groups, as you well know. All do. Politicians will sign on to anything, any rich, powerful organisation that'll help their own careers or open the doors to them. Or when they leave politics, get into the big lobbying groups and lobbying firms, they'll do anything to get there. They don't care about the people they're supposed to serve. What a joke that is. What a joke. But these links will put up tonight for anybody who cares to see. There's not really any sex and foulness there to keep your attention, because you're all trained that way now. That's all you've had for the last few weeks from the mainstream media, and it'll continue as well. And it's sad but true. You know, I'll tell you, if you start anything at all that's honest, and you're trying to protest something, or at least expose the corruption in anything, to try to keep government on the straight and narrow. That's why people used to look at the US, the only country that had rights for the people written into law. It doesn't matter if they didn't follow them, but they had their rights written into law. At least the thought was there, right? Most countries never had that. And you used to have very good alternate media that went in to trying to keep politicians on the straight and narrow, to some extent, and at least let the people know all the dirty deals that were going on behind their backs by the politicians and organizations and so on. And that used to be called the Patriot Movement at one time. Other countries never had that. And in fact, it was awfully good at one time, because other countries, if they tuned in to this alternate media, would often find out what their own countries were up to. Their own people wouldn't tell them. But unfortunately, the whole system in the US was very carefully taken over until it's all gone. Very carefully. By a standard technique. A very standard technique. And it's pretty well gone now. It's sad, but true. Very sad. Because it was a hope to a lot of people across the planet. Now getting back to tonight's talk, which is, again, about corruption and the usual stuff too. But it shows you about foreign lobbying groups and even people in your own country who are getting paychecks. I mean, Lord Pollock must be getting a paycheck in Britain, surely, to basically lobby for another country. It doesn't make any sense at all. And you'll find other ones too, from other countries doing the same kind of thing. As I say, Patil's husband too, I'll link up to the husband as well, because it's interesting for sure. Some news that's come out too is to do with Facebook. To me, it's passé. I mean, the whole internet system was never given to the people to really increase their awareness of what was really going on about anything. It was to do just the opposite. And it has, very effectively. People are I think, dumber now than ever been before. Seriously. Again, you're dealing with psychological techniques run by experts. Universities are in the act and everything to tweak the techniques even to be more effective, and to make sure that everyone's basically getting standardized with their thoughts, their opinions, even their conversations week by week. It's pretty well managed that way. And sure enough, Bernays said that a long, long time ago. The real invisible government was the media. And if you control the media, you control all the thoughts of the people. Now you have all media, and you also have the internet too. The internet has masses of data, but very little real information. And in fact, any information you get, you take their word for whoever's put it up there, whether it's true or not. But I've talked about the entertainment industry and how most of your indoctrination comes not just from what they call news, official news that is, but also like from television, but also from fiction. Hollywood just doesn't give you stacks and stacks of sex. They'll also give you stacks and stacks of little politically correct updates. They update your thoughts and what you should be like and what you should accept, which might be the opposite of what you were told to accept a few years ago, and which often is that way. These are scientific techniques on mind control. Of course they are. And then they check your Facebook and all your chit chat and so on, and to see if you're all following you, these updates that you're getting. And if you're not, they'll know who everybody is exactly, perfectly. They know everything about every person who uses it, because all the information is gathered for your personality profile and sold too to stacks of companies. Anyway, here's one of the co-founders, Sean Parker, what he says about Facebook. He says it's addictive because it exploits a vulnerability in people's brains. You can see that now that he's made these billions, Hindsight is 2020 for Sean Parker, former Facebook president, who said this week the social media site was built to exploit the vulnerability in human psychology. Speaking at an Axios event, Parker said he and his team who launched Facebook in 2000 were trying to figure out how do we consume as much of your time and conscious attention as possible. I've said it for quite a few years now. Computer is meant to suck your life away from you. He says the solution was what Parker called the social validation feedback loop, exactly the kind of thing that a hacker like myself, he says, would come up with. That was his words, I guess. And what they do, basically, is they get you to follow. People who saw this also saw that. Then you go into it. Then you get your likes and dislikes. Then as your likes and dislikes, it's not to see or to tell the people who put out the story that you like the story. What it is for is to see if you like the story, and then to find out why you like it. Is it because you want to be accepted by a peer group who say, when it says that 3/4 or 70% of the people liked this story, they were good people? You see how it works. They're finding out about you in 1,000 different ways, and you're completely ignorant of what they're up to. Completely ignorant. That's why it works so well. It says users want to post so that their friends like their content, and when their friends like their content, users want to post more. It's intended that way. But that can have some unintended side effects. It changes your relationships with society and with each other, Parker said. Probably interferes with productivity in weird ways. God only knows what it does to our children's brains. They know what it does to the children's brains, actually. I'm not kidding you. I'll put up some links too to show you. Never mind the children, the adults too. It has the same effect, these likes, that you're getting little strokes to be good. Oh, you're good. All the good people like this one. The people who didn't want to go along with believing this is a new normal or whatever, they're bad people and they didn't like that. You see how simple it is? But when you get a kickback or a follow-up on something you put up, or even a comment you make, why do you think it's got all these comments there? Why do you think it's there? Huh? And when real people or fake people or computers and their sock puppets get back to you and say, I really liked your little comment there, blah, blah, you get a little dopamine high. And it's very similar to a little bit of cocaine. They're doing all these tests at MIT. I'll put links up to show you. They know all this stuff. That's why it's there. Now, these big corporations that have incredible power, same with Google, and you know darn well it's part of the global intelligence network. Of course it is. Of course it is. It was intended to be. I'll put this up, and maybe another one, and a different one too, and let you read it for yourself. Another one too says, Facebook addiction, new psychological scale. Researchers in Norway have published a psychological scale to measure Facebook addiction, the first of its kind worldwide. And they wrote about it in one of the journal's psychological reports. That's the name of the journal. And it says, the new measure is called the BFAS, short for Bergen Facebook Addiction Scale, and it's the work of Dr. Cecile Andersen, University of Bergen, Norway, and the colleagues that work with them too. But anyway, they've got a test now to find out how addictive it is. And they talk about the mood modification, tolerance, withdrawal, conflict, and relapses go back into. Folk can't keep away from it, even when they try to. It's like getting away from a drug. And it shows you how they do these different tests. And then I'll put up some links too to do with data mining. How companies now know everything about you. Every detail of your life. What you buy, where you go, whom you love is being extracted from the internet, bundled and traded by data mining companies. Now, this is an interesting one. It says, now, what's in it for you? What's in it for you? Good article, but again, with a twist in it too, as everything is out there that pretends to expose something. It does expose, genuinely, but there's always another reason for it. You're played with so incredibly well. Most folk who, again, are trained to be naive don't even see it. They don't even see it coming. They don't. It's like that movie Devil's Advocate, and Al Pacino, who played the devil. That's what he said. He says, it always works. He says, because they never see me coming. They never see me coming. Well, you can apply that to all the different techniques that are used to get anything out of you or even manipulate your behavior. Big time. This article says, over the past few months, I've been told many more interesting facts about myself than my social security number. Guard a bit of the vast amount of data that's being collected on both online and off by companies in stealth. So it tells you how he's managed to get some of the data back to find out what they've got on him. And it says Google's ad preferences believes I'm a guy. It tells you how they've profiled you. Guy interested in politics, Asian food, perfume, celebrity gossip, animated movies, etc., etc. And doesn't care about books, literature, or people in society, etc. So they even have your likes and dislikes, what they think you might be, you see. But they actually have your social security number and everything. They can find anything off of it, no problem at all. They buy in bulk all this information. He goes on again about how they've got it all, and there's tons of other companies I could have called to learn more about myself and so on. And each of these pieces of information and misinformation about me is sold for about 2/5 of a cent to advertisers. So that's each piece, right? Which then deliver me an internet ad, send me a catalogue or mail me a credit card offer. This data is collected in lots of ways, such as tracking devices like cookies, websites that allow a company to identify you as you travel around the web, and you're followed by a stack of them when you go from page to page on the web. And it says an apps that you download on your cell that look at your contact list and location. They do that. You download all these free apps. And they immediately scan everything, and then they collect it, and then they sell it. It says, how everything has seemed free for the past few years. It wasn't. It's just that no one told you that instead of using money, you were paying with your personal information. And it's a good article. But when you take that, and then you look at the other ones too, the dark side of information technology. And there's always twists to everything, literally twists to everything. And information technology has long been viewed as the power behind a new economic revolution, an evolving set of tools that's made workers much more productive than ever before. Really, really. So this is a rah-rah thing. According to a report by the World Economic Forum, that big self-proclaimed group that helps run the world that we don't vote for. Digitalization boosted world economy output by nearly $200 billion. I guess it did too, because I think every central bank now, like the Federal Reserve in the US, they can just punch the figures in, digitally, and that's it, and create anything they want for nothing. And they all do it. Of course they do. Of course they do. That's the most secret club you've got across the world, is these characters that run your central banks. And they move them around too, from country to country. Anyway, it says that the dark side of IT hurts employees, the organizations and so on, about the research, etc., to develop and validate the measures of scales for various constructs and structural equation modeling to analyze relationships amongst them. Then they got to talk about techno-stress and so on and so on. And employee misuse of internet technology. I'll give you examples of that too. And then the data brokers selling your personal information in their article. And they go on about too how they do it, and they sell it as a commodity to each other, to advertisers, even to the government, often without our direct knowledge. Much of this is the kind of harmless consumer marketing that's been going on for decades. There's nothing harmless about it. You should have privacy in what you purchase, or I don't care what it is you're purchasing, or what you're eating, or anything else. This is what's changed is the volume and nature of data being mined from the internet and their mobile devices. It's now a multi-billion-dollar industry that operates in the shadows with virtually no oversight. Likes, dislikes, their closest friends, bad habits, even your daily movements, both on and offline. They know everything about you. As parents never had this kind of control in the past over their children. And even the Federal Trade Commissioner, Julie Brill, in the US says we've lost control of her most personal information. Now, some of these articles, though, I had to tell you, are fascinating, because there are some articles out there, I haven't read them tonight, I meant to, but there's an article out there, one especially, that really goes through all the same information that this read to you. But then they say that, how can you personally benefit from it and find ways to sell your information to them? To train you to sell information. Oh, it's okay then. They're paying you for it, right? That's quite something. Anyway, they've got all the data. It says Exact Data is one of the companies, a Chicago company, is brokering the names of people who have, for instance, these are examples, who have a sexually transmitted disease, as well as lists of people who have purchased adult material and sex toys, things like that. It's just amazing, all the stuff that they're collected to put on you too. And it's going to get worse and worse. But you know something, I'm reading to the choir here. Most folk really out there don't care. They really don't. That's the astonishing part. With the scientific ways of putting all this across to the general public who use everything that's weaponized, they're now at a stage where they're beyond bringing back to any level of personal safety or security on it all. This is the stage that I've read about before by the big socialist engineers. Socialism from the top was never meant, but wasn't an organization that was going to look after the people. It was set up as a eugenics society to manage and even breed the amount of people they would need to manage that particular society, to work in that society and keep it going. All types of people, and even eventually mating the right people to the right. That's where Brave New World came from, the whole idea. Bernard Shaw talked about killing people. If they didn't need them, they'd kill them for society. And H.G. Wells was even worse with his incredible snob. He hated the working class. He's a co-founding member of the Fabian Society, the premier socialist organization. Lenin said it too. 3 levels of what they would understand as communism, which is just socialism, managed by the central state, basically, the capital, the group, the parliament, Politburo, call it what you want, same thing. And they said that the people at the bottom, the workers, they must be given a very simplistic version of the politics of it, what it was for. And of course, it's for their own good and so on and so on. It'll help them, etc., etc. Children. That's what we do for children. And then the middle ones, who are the ones who help manage at the bureaucracy level, who'd be given a slightly different version of what it was all about, which was really human management. And then you would have the top ones who understood the whole plan of it, and the ones beneath them wouldn't know themselves. And they would accept that. They would know it was above them. There was a different plan, but they would accept that. And that's what you have today, isn't it? Even politicians know darn well that there's a higher group above the voted-in politicians into governments. There's a higher group beyond that. We know that. They know that. But they know not to ask questions if you're a good politician and you want to advance your career. Now, here's something I talked about for years, and again, how they would set up through the United Nations. The United Nations, mind you, has said for years and years and years, many years, that China, modern China, would be the model state for the rest of the world to emulate. I've also read the articles and books and so on, parts of books from the top socialists over the years, and many of whom were again lords in Parliament. Lord Bertrand Russell was a British lord too. And so here he is, wanting socialism, again a managed society where they would basically sterilize a good chunk of the population if they didn't need them anymore. And they keep, what's that you're hearing today more and more and more? We don't really need all these workers, manual laborers in the West, because China's doing it all. See, they're the manufacturers. But also they would create social approval, disapproval. Russell said they would give you, through like technocracy, they would simply dish out, the government would dish out to everybody, even companies, but every citizen would get something put into their bank account every week or two, on the same time, same date, but what you hadn't used up from the previous inputs would be simply disappeared. You couldn't save it up. You couldn't withdraw it either for tangible money or anything. A different set of rules for the people above who are managing you all, of course, naturally, in this good, equal society. Anyway, here's China, and good citizens will get fast internet and other benefits. What are you hearing here? Same thing here. Punishing you, hiding your websites, hiding articles that you put up. You're not going to get access to them because you're naughty, you're bad. You're not parroting the good PC stuff, the updates, and you're not for this and you're not for that. You're naughty. Well, eventually you'll have, when it's totally cashless society, you will find punishment. And again, like Jacques Attali at the United Nations, he said something similar about winners and losers in the New World Order. In his second book, he mentioned there'd be fast internet for the goody people, the goody two-shoes, and slower stuff for those in the rural areas too. You'd be losers. So you'd move. Agenda 21, 2030, what do you want to call it? It's all the same 21st century agenda. And it says, by 2020, the behavior of every single citizen and legal person, which includes every company or other entity in China, will be rated and ranked. Participating in China's credit scores will be mandatory. This is from China. On June 14, 2014, the State Council of China published a document called Planning Outline for the Construction of a Social Credit System. In 3 short years, based on the government's plan, Chinese tech giants WeChat and Alipay have already launched their own credit scoring system. A national trust scoring system exists now to rate people in China and secure them services based on the social credit score. A national database will merge a wide variety of information on everyone, assessing whether taxes and traffic tickets have been paid, whether academic degrees have been rightly earned, etc. The credit scoring systems of WeChat and Alipay work in a similar way to collect data from users. WeChat too, says Tencent and developer of the messaging app WeChat, with more than 850 million active users, launched its own credit system early August, signaling that private social credit systems are alive and well. Then Alipay's similar too, and so on. No one understands you more than data giants. Controversially, data giants do not hide that it judges the types of products shoppers buy online. Someone who plays video games for 10 hours a day, for example, would be considered an idle person. Someone who frequently buys diapers would be considered as probably a parent who on balance is more likely to have a sense of responsibility. Good, bad, see? Another category to assess credit is interpersonal relationships, sharing what Sesame Credit refers to as positive energy online, nice messages about the government, oh, it's nice, or how well the country's economy is doing will make your score go up. Well, I could do some of that in Britain, maybe Canada too, because the economy's going to, it's not stagnant, it's sliding off the edge of the table here, or maybe walking off, it's so stagnant. Sesame has promoted the consumer benefits of I guess I just lost some points here. Sesame has promoted the consumer benefits of a good credit score, from a prominent dating profile on the matchmaking site to VIP reservations with hotels, car rental companies, and so on. The social credit system also affects foreign business. While many reports have focused on how social scoring will affect individuals, a more interesting aspect may be implications for doing business in China, including foreign companies. It says the data will be collected from multiple sources by a so-called National Credit Information Sharing Platform and used to generate ratings for each company. So companies and private individuals all are under the microscope. The scores have an immediate impact for companies, incentivizing them to self-restricting their behavior by following regulations and government industrial targets. So the government's the boss, centralized planning, of course, and the communist system. Amazing too. I remember years ago talking about the richest communists were all multimillionaires. Now it's multi-billionaires, maybe going into multi-trillionaires now. And it's still a communist system. There's no you can't oppose the government. It's only a one-party system. That's why the big corporations love it. They'd like us all to be the same. And then people with low ratings will have slower internet speeds, restricted access to restaurants, and the removal of the right to travel. Sound familiar, eh? Penalties are set to change dramatically when the government system becomes mandatory in 2020. Indeed, on September 25, 2016, the State Council General Office updated its policy entitled Warning and Punishment Mechanisms for Persons Subject to Enforcement for Trust Breaking. And the overriding principle is simple. If trust is broken in one place, restrictions are imposed everywhere, the policy document states. People with low ratings will have slower internet speed, restricted access to certain restaurants, removal of the right to travel freely abroad with restrictive control on consumption within holiday areas or travel businesses, will not be hired by certain employers, and will be forbidden from obtaining some jobs. This is the model state for the world. They even have down at the bottom, what is your opinion? Let us know. Comment below, click at the bottom of the page, and don't forget to share this article with friends by pressing in the top right corner. So I guarantee you, and they'll have to click all the good things. Oh yes, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Or else, eh? Aye. Great song. But that's the system we're in, isn't it? And this is the system for the world. And don't forget, it was the West and your corporations and your big foundations, the big owners of your country who set up modern China and gave them free trade and moved all your companies or companies involved which were based in your own countries that had lived for maybe 100 years getting big government grants of your tax money to make them bigger and bigger and bigger, and they all shipped off to China without a second thought. And you paid. We all paid. All the countries in the West paid as the factories in their countries moved off. We paid for them moving. We paid for them claiming to lose money for the first up to 15 years of the move. We paid for everything. And next thing you know, we're paying for each other, for the people who are all unemployed. And folks still vote. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? Isn't that something, eh? And they fall for the rubbish of, oh, we're a democracy. I don't care even if you're a republic, it doesn't make a difference. You keep hearing the same thing. Oh, you're a democracy. There's no democratic countries. You're all run by crooks. Utter crooks. And that's the way it really is, isn't it? Now, I think I'll probably finish here for the night because there's a whole bunch of articles and stories too, and different things I've been working on to do with more interesting stuff too in different areas. But yeah, we're living in a big, big agenda. I keep telling people that. They have no idea that that's how it is. None at all. And I might do a part 2, in fact, next week to do with the data mining and how your mind has always been made up for you through what you watch in fiction, and how you feel guilty about certain things when you have no reason to feel guilty whatsoever. And so on and so on. To show you how your mind is constantly being tinkered with. Now I say, I'm preaching to the choir, because most folk, it wouldn't matter. It doesn't matter what you show them. They're too far gone. And lots of folk really enjoy, apparently, putting all their data up on the internet, like they're some kind of rock star, which they're not. And even rock stars would have more privacy, because they'd be advised to have more privacy than the general population. Everything's for the big boys. That's why they gave you the internet. And it's amazing too, all the things that you have to tweak computers or work with them to try to fix this and fix that out and all that. Your life has been soaked up with it intentionally, and the people who behind it admit it. Admit it, yeah. Doesn't change anything, does it? Anyway, here I am in Canada where it's snowing, and I hope that you're all doing well and surviving all this kind of change that's going on. And bigger changes are planned, unfortunately, because we're living to an agenda, as I say. And the only thing that would ever change anything is for a particular amount of people to all object at the same time. But unfortunately, they don't only object if their cable TV was doubled in price or something. That's the only time they would get on board to complain about anything, I think. Unfortunately, it's true. It is true. You're given one life here. And most folk will spend sometimes a half or more of their lives watching other people's productions on television. You're watching their pieces of work, their productions, which is mainly fiction. And the rest of it is indoctrination. Sad, isn't it?